Hi guys, the name's Mark, and I just want to do a video here, and I'm always doing that, so it seems. Basically, what I'd like to talk about is you know, we all run around and we use sayings, and people use these sayings all the time, and they don't even know why they're saying what they're saying. Like they'll say, are you being positive or are you being you're positive, right? Or you're being negative, right? Stop being so negative. Well, what are these terms? These are electrical terms. Okay, positive, negative. You have polarity, the flow of the positive and negative, which way is it going, and stuff like that. So we have a whole world of people, and some are running around being positively charged, and some are being negatively charged. And the negative ones will say, well, why are you so positive all the time? And the positive ones will say, oh, well, you're bullshit, you're being negative, right? So they don't even understand why they use these terms. It's like, does she make you horny? Why would somebody make you horny? Did you grow horns outside of your head? Are you getting horny? Are you turning into the devil? So that's where this nonsense comes from, people. You have to look at things, and everything everything is a charge. And effectively what you are is you're a battery, okay? You're a walking charge of electricity, okay? And where do you live? In a city? Electricity, ampacity, right? Ampacity, right? City, right? And so you're effectively walking around and you're electrical charge. And say, for example, if you get out of hand with the authorities, they will call it a revolt. Well, why would they call it a revolt? Because V over I times R is voltage, right? Your current times the resistance equals the voltage. And hence, if you're giving a lot of resistance, well, your voltage is going to go down. They are inversely proportional, okay? I'm not going to get too deep. And that's why the cops will come along and arrest you. Now, you look at what a surge arrestor is in electrical terms, and it basically stops the flow of voltage. It arrests the voltage right there, right? And so this is why when the cops come and they arrest you, right, they arrest you, and basically they're stopping your crazy flow of voltage or the amount of resistance that you are pushing up against with these people, right? So then too, you also have words like pie, like let's order a pie, or can I have a slice of that pie? Where do these terms come from? Pi, P over I times E, is referred to as power. Then we have a whole society that's running around trying to obtain power. Like you have the power authorities. Look at the word authority, A-U, in the chart usually is the symbology for gold, AU, and those are the first two letters that are used in author or I tie, authority, okay? So people have been tied to all this nonsense with the powers that be, and if you take the P out of power, you have an ower. So maybe you're an ower of a debt, okay? And you're not supposed to be this. So getting back to the fact that you are voltage, okay, and if I measure you are comprised of ohms, ohm, right? No place like home, right? Where do they get these words? And people run around and they use them all the time. So effectively, if I were to take a multimeter to you and take a lead to each one of your hands and put it, say, mega ohms or whatever, I will get a resistance off you because you are comprised of electricity. And if I get a resistance off you, then that means that I will get a voltage off you. And hence, that's where like words like Voltaren, the medicine that you can buy for a sore back, why would they call it Voltaren? Volt-R, just add an N, Voltaren, right? And so you're an electrical chemical charge, okay? And so being that as it is, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but being that as it is, you're basically a battery cell, and that's why we elect, hence back to electricity, electri and city. You are electing officials who will bring the power. P over I times E is power, okay? And so you're back to all this nonsense, and being the fact that you're a charge, basically you're an electrical cell, okay? You're comprised of many electrical cells. You are a cells living in a body, right? Now, you look at all this stuff, like where would they put you if you revolted back to voltage, right? Volt and age of the volt. And if you revolted, they would put you in a cell, a prison cell, a pry, sun, and cell. You've been pried from your original cell, and now you're going to be arrested and sit in a cell, okay? Like people, I cannot make this shit up, right? Everything is electricity. Like where do you find the currency? You find it down by the river. Where do you find banks? Down by the river. That's why they're called river banks, right? And like all these terms, like do you have enough money to stay afloat? Why are you on a boat? Are you trying to stay afloat in the seas of commerce here? And and they're called merchants. Mare and chance. Mare for water, right? So the chant of the water, right? And all these ships all these stores, they have sails, but yet you never see a ship around for miles. But yet they're all having these sails, right? Come spend your money, save. Well, how do you save if you're spending money? You must buy this car now. You see where I'm going with this, people? So effectively, you're a walking battery cell. We are all walking battery cells, and at the same time, we're basically, if you look at frequency in electricity, it's measured in Hz, which is short for hertz. Okay. Now, if somebody did something really bad to you, I'm sure that would hurt. So hurt. Did it hurt? Right. So you're back to all this, and basically you're a walking radio station, and we live in a world, the age of the mess. It's called the age of the mess. And so it all depends in which context do you take things. And now you're dealing with a message again, spell in, and you look up spell, and it says it's a curse. And then they'll call it cursive writing. You were told not to answer, and curse, right? You're told not to call people names, but yet we all run around and that so-and-so is a fucker, and that so-and-so, his name is Bill and Bob, and basically he's a mother frigger, right? So you can see where I'm going with this, and we were told not to call each other names and all this bullshit, and we run around, and the first thing, like a judge will say, is, what's your last name? Are you this person? You look up slave in an old dictionary, and we're not even getting deep into etymology, and it says a person who is the property of another. So the first thing when you show up to a courtroom, the judge is asking you if you are this person. He's asking you if you're a slave. Now, getting back to you being a walking radio station, your spine is basically an electrical cord, right? It's no different than a radio antenna, and you pick up all these vibes and all these frequencies measured in hertz, and you better be careful what you're allowing to be induced into yourself. Induction, electricity again, right? All these words and all these terms are based on electricity, and like, so when you're a walking radio station, what kind of programming do you want to allow yourself to be infused with? Okay. So like I see a lot of garbage where, like, you put five people together in a room, they cannot agree to anything. They simply cannot play in the same sandbox, okay, people, because of greed, right? Agreed. We can all agree to this. Just add a D and you have greed. Agreed, right? So everybody's using all these words and all this stuff, and they're infusing themselves, indoctrinating themselves with a message, the age of the mess, which is a spell. And then people will say, well, that's just preposterous. But at the end of the day, what do you want to allow yourself to be infused with? Do you want to watch tell-lie-vision, right? Tell-lie-vision, right? They're telling you that it's a lie. And all these people will believe in, take the V and E out, and they will belie in what they see on TV. Even Hollywood, it was the tree branch that was used for witchcraft. And why is this, right? These people know things that people aren't aware of, and it all comes down to imagination. And you look up magi, and you have spellcaster, and necromancer, and voodoo, and black magic, and you look at all these synonyms, and then you're back to synonyms, right? And so you're back to sin, and you take the G out of sign, and you have sin. Perhaps signature, take the G out, sin at you're at sin. Just reverse the supposition. That's kind of like the anagram to things. It's like if you have live, you reverse it, you have evil. You say love, you reverse it, you have evil. So what side of the spectrum, being that you're a walking radio station, do you want to tune into? Do you want to tune into some good Hertz HZ, or do you want to turn into some bad Hertz and it's going to hurt? And this is the message. This is the age of the mess. And you look around and everything's completely blown out of context and stuff. And back to electricity, they call money currency. Why would they call this currency, which refers to back to an electrical charge, right? You can't have current if you don't have resistance, right? Or voltage. You need, everything is back to electricity, and everything is the pyramid, right? Like cosine and sine and all that stuff. You go to school and everything's in a pyramid, right? And then what do they put the all seeing eye on top in the American dollar bill on top of a pyramid, because your electricity and the all seeing eye, you're almost back to Lord of the Rings, where one ring to find them and one ring to bind them. You're getting into a serious spell. So being that we're walking radio stations, we have a choice of what you want to tune into. Now, even if you tune into, say, looking at all this bad stuff, B and add stuff, right? At least then you can determine and decipher and discern the message, and this will allow you to hopefully propel yourself to new heights, right? Like everybody's running around and they're explaining themselves. We live on a plane. It's called a planet, right? And we live on a plane, and now everybody's running around explaining themselves. An X or a cross means that if I go like this and then I go like this, like the Pope, and I come out with a dead guy on my staff of Jesus, a dead guy, and then I go like this, well, now I'm a double crosser, right? So you start looking at these messages, and even like the Catholic Church, take the L out, and you had cathodic, right? You're back to another electrical term. And all these people are aware that you are a walking cell, you're a walking battery / radio station, and they know that if they constantly bombard you, keywords, why are they bombarding you, right? That's not good, right? You know, like we live in such a sick society where bombs are legal. You're told that thou shalt not kill, but yet if I say, okay, now you have to go overseas and fight a war, and here's a gun, now it's okay to kill or drop bombs. You see how preposterous this is, people? Like, people, I can't make this shit up. Not an ounce of this has to deal with me. But we're back to a society where everybody's living in the mess age. Everybody, they don't even look at words. They don't look at etymology. And we're living in a village. And you take the V out of village and you have ill and age. So words comprise of sometimes a single word, double words, like you look at pillage, age of the pill. Take the P out of pill and you have age of the ill age, right? Vil age, and thine will be done, not my will. And you take the W out of will and you have ill. So do you want it to be that thine ill be done, right? This is no different than the mailman. Add a T, take the M out, and you have ailment. He's dropping off B ills to you in your ale box, your mailbox, and you might get ill or sick if you can't afford to pay the B ills, right? That would make you ill, right? And they call these bills. And then the government drafts up, and you take the D out of draft, and you have raft, or graft, take the G out, and you're back to raft. Everything is back to the C's of commerce and currency. And right now, like in the States, I don't usually watch the news because they're all actors and they are all delivering a message. And they were talking about, for example, how the governments in the United States of America is all concerned and worried, and they have to deal with the bank, and they have to deal with the banking, ban and king. They're the kings, and we've been banned, and now they have to go to the bank to increase the debt ceiling, okay? Now, So what they want to do is now they're going to make all these cutbacks and stuff so they can conveniently pay back these bankers, these band kings. And so what happens when this debt ceiling collapses? Okay, these bankers might literally kill you. They want their currency, right? They want their money at all costs. So the fact that they call money currency should tell you something. And then, like, do you have enough money in your float? Are you staying afloat in business? And you look at business and you have BU in sin, right? BU sin, business, right? So the words are right there. And effectively, like, if this debt ceiling, if it now people wonder why too, this whole Wade versus Roe thing, why they don't care if you've been raped and you have a child or whatever it is. The reason why they want to have more children is because they borrow money off the band kings, the bankers, to run their fictitious governments. So here's a bill, and the government draws up bills, be ills, to make you sick, and they'll call it an ailment, right? And they'll send the mailman, ailman, to deliver, right? Not relive, deliver, and to drop these off to you. And the whole thing with the debt ceiling, like, it's a fiction. And then all these politicians, back to a battery, you have two poles, a positive and negative. They're politicians, so there's lies. Maybe they're republicans, because where would most lies happen? In a pub, okay? And they would call it a republican, right? Or you're a Democrat, take the C out, and demo, C rat. Demo is usually a term for to destroy, demolish, right? Hence demolition. And then we live in a world where all these demonstrators, look at the words, and you have demons and traders, and they're trading your soul on the stock exchange. And I'm not talking about the sole of your feet, okay? And I'm not talking about the soul, the soleil in the sky, okay? So what's going to happen when this debt ceiling crashes? It's going to be helter skelter, but the bottom line is that these G over men politicians, the government, they are all a pile of whores, are putting you in debt, and there's not even enough money in this debt circulation to pay off the debt. So why is it that bankers can own everything, but you can't own everything? I mean, you pay off, you look at a mortgage, engage. It's a death pledge, moratorium, right? Muertos, right? These are words of the dead, right? And so effectively, like, being that you're a walk-in radio station, you have a choice of, like, what you want to allow your precious brain to process, right? Do you want to be programmed with all this garbage and all this, like, all this TV and stuff? Like, you watch Star Wars and we're under the dark cloud of the Sith, right? This dark cloud of deception, and no two people can agree on anything. Families are breaking up, they're splitting up because one guy in the household likes Trump and the other guy, one guy likes Trump and the woman loves Biden. And so now they're going to I'm posing their wills. Take the W out of will and you have ills. So they're imposing their ills on who is right and who is wrong, and you're back to nobody can play in the same sandbox and garden and simply get along. So now they've all effectively stepped out of the garden, okay, and now they're into a divisive world where there's a duality of truth, and there's also a duality, dual all lie tie, of a message. And they will mix part of some truth, a little bit of truth, with the message, which is nothing but, it's not the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God, right? So you can see how preposterous and stupid this is. So being that you're a radio station and you're a walking energizer battery, right? You're energized, right? And so what radio stations on the radio of life, what frequency measured in hertz, HERTZ, do you want to tune into? Okay, you can tune into love, or you can reverse the supposition and tune into evil, right? You can see where I'm going with this. So I just wanted to share this with you people, and, like, All you have to do is look at the words. Like you take a V in the alphabet, if you add another V, you have a W, and now you have a W in French, a W, right? So will, age, you add another V to the V, now you have a W, and you have will age, and they will call this management, right? You are not supposed to age men or man age men, okay? Just add a T. And what did Christ die on? He died on a T, a cross, for God's sakes, okay? So I don't want to get religious, because religious derives from religare, which means to control. So now they are trolling like a bunch of cons. They'll call them patrollers, patrollers, if they are off-icers. Why are cops called off-icers? Because they're off ice. Effectively, they have a color of law, which is not the law, which is not God's law, right? And so this is what's happening. And what would they put a dead corpse on? They would put a dead corpse on a bed of ice, and then the cops will run around and tell you to freeze. And they come packing heat, which is measured in watts. So they're packing guns, phallic symbols, where you can shoot people, right? Are you shooting to kill, or are you shooting to thrill, right? So hence, what would you shoot out of your penis? You would blow your load, you would shoot a load, you would blow your load out of a gun, right? And so you can see where I'm going with this, people. So this is just a general video on, yes, we live in a crazy world, but peace is always there. And I don't mean a piece of the pie, right? Like P over I times E, which is power, which is measured in heat. Like if you had a 60-watt light bulb, it will like lose 60 watts of heat. And people run around going, what? And you look at watt and just add another T and you have what, or watt, right? So again, people are using these terms like, oh, stop being so negative, or you're always so positive, and they don't even understand why. And then the police, the OPO and lice, the policy enforcers, come bearing force and packing heat, right? They might shoot to thrill, they might shoot to kill. You take the K out of kill and you have ill. So do you have the skills to pay the B ills? Take the S out of skill and you have kill. You got the kills to pay the bills, take the K out of kills, and you have the ills to pay the B ills. People, not an ounce of this garbage is mine, okay? It's not. It's all bullshit. And so many people, they're chasing down, I call it useless information. You only have to look at the lie so deep. And once you realize that everything is a lie since youth, you've been programmed, you go to school, and even look at school. If you look at school in the dictionary, it would say a group of fish. And we come out of the age of Pisces, right? And you're back to the age of fish, and everybody is selfish because they're greedy. They're trying to sell fish as opposed to giving their fellow man a fish. So again, you're back to what side of the radio station, with your spine being an electrical antenna, picking up these frequencies measured in hertz, and then it comes into your brain, right? So you have to be careful, because like we live in a society where if I repeat something long enough, like I say liberty, 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 you're going to be going to work going liberty, 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 right? And lie be our tie. Look at liberty and lie be our tie. Liberty is not good, right? And all these people run around going, well, my rights come from a piece of paper. So I write on this napkin what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And then you're going to say, but my rights come from a constitution. Cons, tie, U-I-on, right? Ionosphere, right? Do you live in the atmosphere, atmosphere? Look at the words, right? We are all ions and a part of the ionosphere, and we are all electrical in charge and in nature. Take the N out, you're at, right? You're an electrical charge. And if I were to take a multimeter to you, I could simply, to end to ground, I can get a voltage reading off you, which tells me that you're comprised of current, you're comprised of resistance, and you're comprised of voltage. And then, so this tells me that we are electrical beings, and that's why hence you live in a city called electricity, or ampacity, amp a city, or take the P out, am a city, right? And then everybody will run along inciting themselves as citizens on the citizenship. Ask yourself why you're stepping onto a ship when you're apparently on dry land. Now you're living a lie, and all these people believe in things without any factual proof. It's like, well, Jesus was here, and then I'll say, well, did you see Jesus? Did you ever meet Jesus personally? Oh no, but well, everybody tells me so. Can you see how preposterous this is, people? So you're back to, what radio station do you want to be programmed with, right? And clearly you don't want to be programmed. We are magnificent, magical beings who are supposed to be like gracious, and this grace comes from the cosmic universal creator, right? And so we weren't supposed to have all these languages where now this word translates into this word and that word translates into that word, and you go to a court of law and they're all using Black's law because it belacks life, and now they're using words that you're not even aware of, and then people say, oh, well, that's just wordplay, right? You're back to word or sword. You take the S out of sword, and now you have word. So it's easier to run around and kill ill people with words than what it was with swords. Take the S out of sword and you have word, because everybody was running around. They got tired of physically trying to kill their neighbors with swords, and that's why now the pen is mightier than the sword, and you will owe with a pen. That's why stores are open for business. They even call it credit, right? Everybody's running around on all this borrowed money, but they call it credit, and you take the C out of credit and you have red it, because now you're in the red. Now you're dealing with a currency which you were never supposed to deal with, because God never asked us, the universal cosmic waitress never asked us to operate with money. Okay, see where I'm going with this? Now you're back to selfish, and if I have 10 fish and you only have one, chances are my greed is going to impact your family, and your family might also starve for this. So we need a resource-based economy. I talk about that, and we don't need money, and even if you did want to use money, simply print it up. But the fact that these bankers own everything, and now back to the US borrowing money to increase the debt ceiling, well, that's going to dissipate in 2 years, and then what? So now we owe a pile of money that you can't even pay because there's not enough debt notes in circulation to pay off this bill to begin with, which is preposterous. And who is all this money owed to? Uranus? Up your ass, right? The whole thing is preposterous, and then all these American politicians are going, well, it's the smart thing to do. We have to raise the debt ceiling, and we have to propose what we're going to do with all these tax cuts, and we don't even care if you have a baby and maybe your system is septic or the child has been raped. Now if she doesn't have conceive that baby, well, now the government can't borrow money off the banks, off the head of that child, to operate their sick and twisted bullshit. So this bullshit that we need government, look around, people. What are governments doing for people? Absolutely nothing. We have people starving. We have people homeless. The cost of living just keeps going up and up and up and up. Can you see how preposterous pre-post this is? You're back to a post, 2 posts on a battery, right? Everything is electrically charged in nature, and that's why they call money currency. And people have literally made money their god. Money is the biggest, most false religion rely on that is out there. If you take the G out, and religion, you're back to religare, and religare means to control. So everybody is controlled with money. Maybe you live in Missouri in the States. Do you live in Missouri, right? Do you live in Connecticut? Connect, I cut. Do you live in Hellas, Spain? Take the L out, the S out of Spain, and you have pain. Hell as pain. So do you want to live in Hellas, Spain? Just look at, I'm kind of hooked on phonics and not stuck on stupid, because you look at Hellas, Spain, and it says hell as, take the S out of Spain, and you have pain. they spell it out for you. Like you live in Missouri, Connecticut, right? You live in Washington. Have you been washed out, right? Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. They will call this brainwashing. And you take the B out of brain and you have rain. So literally, wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. So please, people, you're a walking radio station. Your spine isn't an antenna cord. It sends electrical charge back and forth up into your brain. And so it's a matter of what you want to be tuned into. And if you're not tuned into the garbage and you don't listen to these people, then these people have no power over you whatsoever. And they are not affecting your daily decisions in life and what you're going to do. It's like Trump. If they never put him on TV and they never glorified the fact that he's a thief and a grafter and a grifter and all this shit, like, he's filed bankruptcy, banker up so many times, not a personal bankruptcy, but a corp or rate or corp or eight. And we have these corporations, add-ons, eating everything up. And corporations don't pay tax. You do, but they don't, right? So you can see that we live in a world full of fraud. And we don't need this, people, okay? So I know I'm bouncing around with a few things, but back to the debt ceiling. If you elevate a ceiling and you elevate a ceiling, well, in life, what goes up must come down. It's almost like people in Australia. Supposedly they live upside down, but this magical thing called gravity spins them upright, and they don't even know that they're upside down. Planes and boats, which are inanimate objects, are upside down in Australia, literally like this, or on the globe, they're this way, or they're upside down that way, or sideways this way, and the only way they fly straight on top is on top, but everybody's upside down, and now all of a sudden we're going to spin them up and they're magically upside right, even though they're upside down. So you don't believe the message, the age of the mess, what these people tell you, because they'll have you believing that up is down, down is up. They'll have you believing that, well, the governments have no choice but to increase the debt ceiling. They have to make all these cutbacks. They have to raise all these taxes. You look at taxes and you take the T out and they're called taxes. So you've been axed and you're paying a farm tax, right? Which you were never supposed to pay again. God, the creator, the universal cosmic creator, never asked you to pull money out of your ass and to have a debit card, right? And you take the IOTA debit card and you have debt. So everybody is running around in debt when the universe has given us a whole world full of abundance, and then we said, no thanks. We would simply like to pay for things. I don't like free water. I should not have free water. I am not worthy of free water. I should have to pay for it. Look at the term worthy. Everything's back to war. Worthy, right? Rearward, back to war. Forward, back to war, right? So all these terms are always, you look at the language and it's a stratocracy of evil and war. Again, you got the skills to pay the bills. You take the S out of skills, you got the kills to pay the bills. Take the K out, you got the ills to pay the B ills. When the ailment comes and gets dropped off in your mail by the ailman, okay? So oddly enough and perversely, up is down in our world and down is up and sideways, and then we live in a world where it's called a vaccination. Why does vaccine have also the word nation in it? Maybe they want to vaccinate, ATE, the nation. They want to eat the nation.